Welcome everyone to the next episode in fitness, food and fatherhood. In today's...
You so wanted to say fatherhood.
I did every time I want to say it. In today's episode, we are going to be covering the 5 steps to a successful fat loss phase. So...
Number 3 may shock you. Number 3 may shock you.
Okay.
Yeah, I think they're going to be surprised about number 3.
I feel like I'm really squinting. Should have put my sunglasses on, but we're going to roll with it.
Going to roll with it, yeah. This will be what, a 10-minute video?
Yeah, something like that. Won't be long. Won't be long. So, tip number 1. What would you say is the number 1 thing that everyone who wants to lose body fat has to get right from the start?
Eat less, move more. Calorie deficit, bro. That's what they're expecting me to say.
But it's not.
Because if you've followed us or followed any kind of fitness person on Instagram, you know, right? You know you need a calorie deficit. Number 1, though, without this top priority that we're about to tell you and reveal, the whole thing collapses. And number 1 is clarity, getting really clear on your goal. And if it's, I want to lose weight, cool. Why do you want to lose weight? What's the benefit of you losing weight? If you don't see the value in achieving the goal, then when it gets really hard and you're not really feeling it on a Thursday and someone's brought the cakes into the office, you're not going to stick to it because you don't really see the true value in achieving this goal. So you have to get clear on what your goal is and why it's important to you as an individual.
Excellent. Just pause 1 second.
Back in the room.
That's all I needed to do.
There
Much better. Yeah, so just on that, I think realistically where most people actually go wrong is they don't know what they want to achieve and why, right? So they're not clear, so that when they do get influenced by other decisions, lots of other people, it's swaying them. And because they're not clear on what they want, the most successful people I know who have lost body fat and kept it off are the ones that were super dialed in, who knew what they wanted, the reason why they wanted to do it, and very regularly referred back to that as well, and continued to reassess their goals, the progress, celebrated their wins. All of that sort of stuff kind of falls under that same bracket. So number 1 is really get clear on what exactly do you want and why.
Just to give you a real world example of that, if you were to sign up with me as a client, right, and I'm talking to you about why this goal is important to you, and you're like, I don't want to get out of breath when I'm playing with my kids. Like, I want to be around for their life. Like, I want to see them get married. I want to have good health when they're older. If 6 weeks in, you're like, oh man, this is really hard. I don't know why I'm doing this. Like, I'm going to say to you, you know, is seeing your kids like in later life with you being in good health, is that still a priority? Is this still something you want to do? It reinforces, oh yeah, actually, I'm back in now. The long-term vision, that's still really important to me. So it sounds a little bit fitnessy and a bit cheesy, but you've got to get clear on why you want to do this and why it's important to you. And not just, oh, I want to lose weight because all my friends are on a diet because it's January. Why is it important to you? Why will your life improve for doing this?
And I think what's really difficult for a lot of people is referring back to that goal and the reason why it's important on their own. The benefit of having a coach in your corner is we do that for you. We are the ones to remind you, to hold you accountable to that goal and that reason why more frequently than you would when you're being influenced by other decisions.
That's the thing, as much as we just want to be cheerleaders all the time and say, oh, you're doing great, there's a lot of times where we have uncomfortable conversations.
Yeah, because you're not doing great.
No, it's tough love. Yeah, and that's the thing, because we want you to get the kind of results that you want, the kind of results that you've thought about and dreamed about for years and never quite achieved on your own. We want to be the ones to change that. You know, we want to be the ones to get you there so that we both arrive together and go, you've changed, you've done it.
Yeah, of course. All right, so step number 2.
You knew it was coming.
Calories and protein.
Nutrition targets. When it comes to fat loss, the number 1 priority, I guess after realizing that you want to lose body fat, is setting your nutrition targets. Like, you have to do that. It doesn't matter about how many meals you eat, the size of those meals, all of that stuff that you kind of hear about, the 1% stuff that you hear about on Instagram that gets lots of clicks and likes. Your total amount of calories across a day, across a week, has to be in check. You have to do that. That's priority 1. And protein as well. Protein's something that is going to keep you fuller for longer, which when you're on a diet, right, you don't want to be hungry all the time. But also it's going to give your body a message, all the recovery tools that it needs to keep your muscle. What you don't want is to lose scale weight. Let's just say you lose 2 stone, but you look in the mirror when you're naked and you're like, I still don't like what I see, because you were just a smaller version of yourself now. Most people want to be toned. They want to be leaner. They want to be more defined. That comes from muscle, okay? So you've got to fuel that muscle with enough protein and make sure that the weight you're losing is coming from body fat.
For sure. I'd just like to make one point on this, that a calorie deficit isn't a diet, okay? I think
Correct.
This is where most people get confused, is they think that a calorie deficit is something that they do and follow. A calorie deficit is a principle of consuming less calories than you burn. How you do that, there are hundreds, if not thousands, of different ways to do that. And the process is about finding the way that works best for you to achieve that calorie deficit. So it's not a diet, it's the principle for dieting.
Whether you've done Weight Watchers before, Slimming World before, you're tracking something. You're tracking points or sins or something like that, right? That will be enough initially to get you into a calorie deficit so you start losing weight pretty rapidly. However, I've worked with a lot of people and spoken with a lot of people at parties and all this kind of stuff. They've been doing Weight Watchers, they've been doing Slimming World, and they've got to a point where they're stuck and they don't know why. That's why we collect so much data on our clients' calorie intake, their steps, their protein intake, so we can go, okay, cool, look, the amount of calories you're consuming for these first 4 weeks, 5 weeks, 6 weeks, your weight was shifting. For the last 2 weeks, it's not. We need to reduce calories by 10%. We're going to look at your food diary. This is how you might want to go about it so it doesn't interfere with the rest of your life too much. We're very hands-on with that kind of stuff.
For sure. So after we've got calories and protein in check, what you will probably think that we're going to say is step 2 is the gym and training.
Step 3.
Step 3?
Step 3.
That's what you think we're going to say.
Yeah.
But it's not.
No, it's not.
Steps and movement and activity. It's about moving your body. We have both trained multiple clients through fat loss phases without even entering a gym. Okay?
Yeah.
Because the principle of losing body fat is about creating the calorie deficit. Make sure that you've got enough protein in to facilitate the body shape that you want to achieve. And then it's about moving to encourage you to stay active, burn some more calories, and just keep the body fluid and moving all of the time. That will be enough to elicit fat loss. And there's like arbitrary numbers out there that kind of state, you know, hit 10,000 steps a day, etc. The number is always based on each individual circumstance. So if you only realistically do 2,000 steps per day, it's going to be a big ask for you to jump all the way to 10. So what we say is meet someone where they're at and increase 10 to 20% of what they currently do. And you know, if you're at 2,000 a day, maybe increase it to 3,000 or 4,000 a day. If you're then at 5,000, maybe increase it to 6,000 or 7,000 per day. That will be enough to start the process of losing body fat, and then you make tweaks along the way, you adjust as you move forward, and if you start to see that you've hit a plateau, that's when you can start to increase your targets again. 10,000 for a lot of people could be a great place to be in terms of losing body fat, but it doesn't always have to be. But step 3 is about moving more.
Just general movement. And for those of you who are listening to Adam, and when he said, you know, to lose body fat, you don't have to go to the gym. Don't get too excited that we're the coaches that are going to say, hey, come and work with us. You don't have to go to the gym. We will be encouraging you to lift weights because it's good for you, and it comes back to that stuff that we talked about with being toned. You are going to probably need and benefit from lifting some weights. But the biggest overall factor is going to be your amount, I suppose, the amount of food that you're eating and the amount of calories that you're burning. 10 to 20% is a good kind of range for both of the things we talked about in point 2 and point 3. You might want to reduce your calories by, say, 10% and increase your steps by 10%. A general sort of thing that I like, for most people, if they're under about 5,000 steps a day, I'm like, okay, they're not very active. If they're around about 7,000, I'm like, cool, they're active. If they're about 10, 12,000, I'm like, okay, cool, very active. That's just the kind of general range I use. But if I've got someone who's habitually at 2,000, I'm not going to say, oh, do you know what, I'd really like you at 7,000. I just want to add 10%. I just want them getting to 2,500 or 2,200. You know, Because the most important thing at the initial start of working one-on-one is that you're adhering to a plan. So if I say to you, right, I want to get an extra 200, 500 steps per day, can you go for a 10-minute walk on your lunch break? That's improvement. That's improvement from what you're doing currently. That's the most important thing. It doesn't have to be bang on right. It just matters that you're taking action initially.
Sure. And then moving nicely into one of our favorite topics, step number 4, which would that be, Si?
Lifting weights.
Oh yeah.
Training in the gym.
And we truly mean lifting, because it is going to be the biggest bang for your buck in terms of changing the way that you look. Lifting weight, there's a whole host of benefits to lifting weights. We won't go into them in this video, but ultimately lifting weights 2 to 4 times per week, performing anything from full body workouts to upper lower splits to push-pull legs, none of that really matters. We just want people lifting weights in the gym every week, trying to get a little bit stronger, performing the movements a little bit better, and staying consistent with it every week, week in, week out, to start to get stronger, to start to get fitter, and changing the way that you look and feel. And that is really, really important.
Yeah, lifting with intent, right? Like your last set on each exercise should feel like a 9 out of 10 difficulty. But just to kind of go on what Adam just said, there's a whole host of health benefits to lifting weights, right? But if you don't give a monkeys about any of that, go back to what I just said about tone when it comes to protein intake. You want to look toned, you want to look leaner, you want to look more defined. Let's just say this is your muscle, you've got a load of fat covering it, get you in that calorie deficit, send a signal to this muscle by lifting weights and challenging it that it needs to stay around. It's essential. You need this muscle. That way, most of the weight that you is going to come through body fat. You've got to give that muscle a reason to stick around. If you're not lifting weights intentionally, getting all tongue-tied. That's how excited I am about all this stuff. At least a couple of times per week, that muscle's not going to stick around. So you will end up just looking like a smaller, softer version of yourself, weighing less on the scale, but still not happy with your overall appearance.
Some would say like a popped balloon.
A popped balloon? I like to refer to myself when I'm like that as a melted candle.
Yeah.
Or a bin bag full of soup.
Not a good look. Not a good look. So get to the gym, lift weights.
You don't need much, right? That's the thing. You don't need to lift like your favorite influencer on Instagram or your favorite bodybuilder or athlete.
Unless we're your favorite influencers.
Yeah,
then,
lift like
then
us.
do that.
A couple of sessions per week, 30, 45 minute full body can be enough. 4 or 5 exercises, get in the gym, train really hard, get out, set some progressions, move on. Like that's how I train most of my clients who are parents, they've got jobs, they haven't got time to be in the gym 2 to however many hours per day.
Of course. So moving swiftly and nicely into step number 5 for successful fat loss. Si, hit them with it.
Don't sleep on this one. Get it?
Oh.
Sleep.
Sleep.
Sounds boring, right? It's like, oh, okay, sleep, click. But what a lot of people don't realize about sleep is just the impact that it will have on your decisions in the day if you are under-recovered and underslept. If you've got less than 6 hours sleep continuously, you will start to make worse decisions with your food. Willpower, like we talk about all the time, you can't rely on it. So let's just say you've got a cup, right? You can fill that if you've got enough sleep, you're clear on your goal, like that's your amount of willpower. Every time you're underslept, you start off with half that amount. Let's just use that. That's not an exact science, but let's just use that. So when you're going through your day, trying to make good choices with your nutrition, trying to, navigate your hunger and be, disciplined and say, no, I'm not gonna have that cupcake today. I've got a goal in mind. The more underslept you are, the harder that's gonna be, the more you're taxing that willpower. Also, messes up your hunger hormones. We've got a hunger hormone in us called ghrelin. One of my clients remembers it as growling because when you get hungry, our stomach growls. But ghrelin, right? That will tell you to eat, and that will ramp up when you're in a calorie deficit because your body doesn't want to lose body fat. That will ramp up even higher if you're not getting enough sleep. So
For sure.
At least 7 hours. I mean, some people say 6. I like 6 as a bare minimum, but not for too many nights in a row. I quite like to see lots of 7s rather than 6s.
Yeah, so I would go anything from like 7 to 8, 7 to 9 hours of good quality sleep. I think that's the biggest thing. And the way that you get quality sleep is, number one, is minimizing the amount of screen time and blue light that you take on and absorb throughout the evening time. So anything between like 20 to 45 minutes before you're going to go to sleep or go to bed, you want to be minimizing the amount of blue light. So no screens, no TV. If you're really geeked out on this, you can get like blue light blocking glasses, but you don't have to do that. Just minimize screen time is essentially what we're trying to say. You want to sleep in a cool and a dark room. Very difficult during the summer times, but if you've got blackout blinds, that helps you get a really dark room. And maybe using a fan or the window open, that can also help you as well. There's other things like an eye mask. You can sleep with a sleep mask or an eye mask. That often helps. And then some tactics like journaling before bed, maybe reading before bed, is a great way to still get the entertainment value of television and scrolling, but without the negative downsides that's going to keep you up at night. So there's some tips to help you maximize and optimize your sleep for the evening times. And then I'd just like to finish those 5 points. So I mentioned it a moment ago, but those 5 points are have an overarching principle of adherence. When we work with our clients, the plans that we build for them are with adherence in mind. There's no point us giving you a plan if we know straight from the beginning you're not going to be able to adhere to this. So it has to be realistic and sustainable for you to actually commit to and stay consistent with long term. And that overarching factor of adherence is the thing that makes the successful fat loss phase.
I just want to finish up by saying all that stuff that Adam said about like sleep. I'm quite bad at that. So if you're watching this, you're like, oh, I'm never going to be able to do that. Here's a little caveat just from my own experience, and it kind of goes against like what I normally preach, because in an ideal world you would cut screen time out and everything. I can't lay there. I have to watch something. So I caveat it with, I'll watch something on my phone that I've seen loads of times. Like it might be a rerun of The Office or Seinfeld or something like that, because it doesn't really engage my brain. It's just like, cool, I'm just watching this and having a laugh. That I can sleep fine on that. I would, if you're one of those people like me who likes to be on their phone in bed, I wouldn't start reading the news or watching something really enticing and really new that gets your brain working. Anyway, I just wanted to throw that in to let you know we're not perfect.
I did forget one major one, and this is sleep and wake times. Okay, this is ultimately the biggest driver towards quality and consistent sleep.
100%.
You need to set a regular and consistent sleep time and a regular and consistent wake time within the range of about an hour. Where most people go wrong is they create this artificial jet lag for themselves, where they have Monday to Friday, they're pretty regimented with what they do, and then at the weekend they're going to bed way too late and waking up way too late, and it feels like a bit of a jet lag, which is one of the main contributing factors to why people feel groggy on a Monday morning. I mean, poor eating habits, poorer hydration, but also it's that jet lag from the change in your time of sleep schedule. So if you can stick to a sleep and wake time, that will have the biggest impact. Even if you spend time on the phone in bed, that's absolutely fine, as long as you've got a cut-off time to go to bed by. So I hope that has been useful for those 5 steps to successful fat loss.
Bonus tip.
Oh wow, we keep going.
You didn't know this was coming. We're going to wrap it up because I said it was going to be about 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Bonus tip. Find a way to track your progression, whether that's weight, waist measurement, photos. We do it all with our clients. We make sure that they're doing those things so that they actually see visual progress. So whatever matters to you, clothes size, waist measurement, photos every couple of weeks, find a way to make sure you're progressing and keep an eye on that. Because if you don't, when it does get difficult, you're going to throw the towel in. Whereas if you're seeing, actually, I'm making progress here, you'll stick to it. So bonus tip, find a way to make progression.
And if you're struggling with that, there is an opportunity to join our 4-week fix that is completely free. We teach you how to do this all for free over a 4-week period. The link to join is in the description below this video.
I just sent some of our clients a 2-minute voice note, didn't get paid a penny. So jump in, it's free.
Peace out.